need to test out this camera and the audio setup, because I made a few videos there in the last few weeks and the audio was coming out only on one side of, if you're wearing headphones for example, and it was coming out in one headphone, not the other. And likewise with the computer, it's coming out one side, not the other. It's not too noticeable if you're watching or listening on a computer, but it is noticeable if you're listening on headphones. And there was a fella there, he emailed me or contacted me online, left a comment to say that he was listening in his van and it was only coming out one side of the speaker, or one speaker in the van. So we can't have lads driving around in white vans or blue vans or transits or any man with a van, quite frankly, and not been able to hear me properly. We'll just test out the audio. See it there, my eyesight's not the fucking best. Oh yeah. So that's it. That young lad there now I met, I was just walking down here. I just after missing the train was early today. I was walking down here and the young fella that I met, although he's not a young lad now probably, he's probably in his 30s, but he worked for me washing cars across the road there in the petrol station, and his father was with him there. He was telling me what he's doing now. He was asking for my mother, and everybody who used to work for me asks about my mother, because my mother was a decent woman, and no matter how hard a taskmaster I was or how shitty a boss I was, she did her best to be civilised and decent to my employees so that they'd stay a bit longer. So he was asking for her, and there was somebody else asking for her there the other day now. I must fucking tell her, oh yeah, the car sales guy, Paul in Grange Motors Mullingar. So anyway, I must check this audio now later on. It's actually nice just to get out, get a bit of fresh air. I'll be sitting in the office all the time. For consultation now at 2 o'clock, and I'm kind of tempted to do a video where I actually do give my opinion, but give it pretty much with both barrels. In other words, a few weeks ago there I did a video saying why I don't give my opinion about various cases and so on, and many people thanked me and recognised that I didn't do that and are happy I didn't do that. But occasionally people will say, oh, why don't you give your own opinion on a case, or why don't you tell us what you really think, etc. And I've never really done that, and the explanation I gave last week was that there's so much crap online now, and so many threats, and so many keyboard warriors, and so many radicals from both extremes, but especially from the right. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Most of the threats nowadays, most of the political violence nowadays, or violence that's purported to relate to political stuff, for example immigration or refugee centres or asylum seeker centres or international protection seeking centres, most of that violence is right-wing radical stuff, and it's not left-wingers, it's right-wingers. So let's just be honest about it and call a spade a spade. Most of that Ireland is full shite nonsense is coming from right-wingers, not from left-wingers. And most of the Ireland for the Irish and the flag waving and tricolour waving, all that crap, that's all from right-wingers as well. So, if we're going to talk plain and we're going to talk straight and we're going to be straightforward about it and give up my opinion, well, that's, So the reason I didn't give opinion up to now was because of that threat all the time that it could be Coolock today, it could be Enfield outside my office tomorrow, and why should I run the risk of it? I'm running a business there, I have staff, I have responsibilities, I have wife, kids, I have various obligations and so on, and I want to make a living, and I want a life that's not filled with strife or conflict, etc. I mean, human nature is human nature. Who wants that? Well, unless you sign up for it, and if you do, well, that's a different ballgame. You may be in politics or something. Well, I'm not in politics, but I have an opinion, and I reserve the right to share my opinion from time to time. So that is the story. That's what I'm doing today, though. I'm just testing this video and testing the audio, and I want to be sure that the audio that you're listening to, if you're listening to it with speakers, is actually coming out in both speakers, left and right, and not just one. Whereas what was happening up to now is, as I say, the audio is only coming out one side, which it's some setting that I have or set on the microphone, my wireless mic. I'm not sure whether I fixed it or not. I hope I have, I think I have, but I'm not sure. So that is the position. Anyway, that's it. Actually, there's a signal cabin. It's called a signal cabin, or it used to be called a signal cabin. It's over there. You see it over there, the green place with the, let me get in closer to it there. The green place with Enfield written on it. That's the signal cabin. The man in that signal cabin, the man that operated that signal cabin was a man called Jim McDonald from Castledermot in County Kildare. And he was a very staunch Kildare football lily white fan. And he was a good friend of my grandfather's and used to go to all the football matches with my grandfather. My grandfather was one of the few people around the place with a car, and he had a Hackney car for years, and then he always had a good car, my grandfather. He was kind of prosperous. He would have been a shrewd enough man, and but he was a good friend of Jim McDonald's. Jim was fond of the sauce, but they used to play cards down there in that signal box, in the Enfield signal box, and it was Jim's job to look out for trains coming and to pull the levers so that the train would end up on the right track. Often, well, Jim had a problem with drink, no two ways about that, but I'm not saying that he was ever drunk in the cabin or anything. I'm not saying that now that ever happened, but he had a very responsible job, nice man. But I can remember playing for Kildare for the first time. I played in Carlow, against Carlow Miners in 1980. And 1980, Kildare Miners played Carlow Miners in the first round of the championship. And I can remember Jim McDonald there and my grandfather going down to that match, and he was asking me, Jim was asking about the match afterwards and so on, and he was kind of proud, and I was kind of proud as well. He was proud that he knew me and I was playing with Kildare, and I was kind of proud that he was going with my grandfather. My father obviously was there as well, and so on, my mother. But the score that day was 5-13 to 2-5, and it's funny the way you can remember things in life. I can remember that score, although maybe it was 5-10 to 2-5, just I'm not sure. They scored 2-5 for sure. We scored either 5-10 or 5-13. I was playing corner forward. I played for Kildare Miners for 2 years, and then for Kildare under-21s for 3 years when I was 19, 20 and 21. But that Kildare minor team had Davy Dalton. He was only a sub. He played full-back later on for Kildare. It had Larry Tompkins, it had Shea Fahy. Both of those lads won Man of the Match awards in All-Ireland finals later on with Cork. That's another story, another day's work. But Jim McDonald there, gas man, and his nephew then Jim, and his daughter Agnes, they're clients of mine as well. So anyway, it's funny the things you remember, but that's the signal cabin there now that Jim used to occupy, and he used to have my grandfather down and other local dignitaries to play cards in that signal box from time to time. And back then it wasn't electronic, it wasn't electric, it was Jim McDonald when he was in his full health, pulling the levers to switch tracks and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the romance, I suppose, of the train station here in Enfield. Anyway, hope you liked the video. I know it's all over the place, but it is what it is.